I was 13 years old. I needed to earn some money. I thought, how can I do this? It was coming up the 4th of July. I knew the kids would want to do fireworks. We didn't have control in those days like they do now, which is so controlled. I ordered a fireworks catalog from China because I knew that's where they made most of the fireworks. And my interest was in a firework called the cherry bomb that most of us know. It's very powerful, just a little ball, and has one fuse coming out of it. And so I started ordering cherry bombs. Well, of course, I was buying them very inexpensively from China, and I was turning around, probably doing an illegal thing, but there wasn't all the control there is now, and I was selling them. Everybody wanted to buy cherry bombs, not just the kids, but the kids' dads and brothers and all, and I had a ready market. I mean, that was duck soup. I just doubled the price of what I paid for it, and I made money. It was a good business.
And so that was your first business?
That was my first real business. I was building fireplaces, similar to artificial fireplaces now. I mean, fireplaces with no logs and no real fire, yes, but not real wood. But then ornamental iron came along, and so that kind of went out of the picture. Didn't last too long because something replaced it. My sister saw on the cover of Better Homes and Gardens a really interesting garden chair, which was made out of rod metal, and the seat and back were fishnet. And so we set up in her basement. And I went down to the junkyard and I got all the metal tables I needed to make my patterns. I mean, my little, where I could put it each time and clamp it down to weld it. And I made the chairs and the shades and the tables and that type thing. Merlene and her husband, George, they put the fishnet on. And then my mother made cushions. Well, we did sell some, but not enough to be a business, you know. Well, what do? Well, we go to Los Angeles and we find what various contemporary furniture stores were doing. Nobody had anything like this in Salt Lake City. It was now Clark Leeming. We wanted to put our own names on it so that if we made it really successful, which we did, everybody would know Clark Leeming. The concept was beautiful furniture, but with a designer that would come in and plan. Rarely sold a sofa or a chair. Minimum typically was a living room or a bedroom. Very often the whole house. That with an interior designer. And we had two artists, Gary Collins, another fellow who would make a rendering of what that was going to be like when it was finished. And they were good renderings. It was a great selling tool. We decided we needed a building of our own or a much larger space and be less expensive to build our own building. And George Leeming was lucky enough to see a sign on this property on Foothill and said, hey, let's buy it. That's where we're going to put the new store. One was called Clark Leeming, and the other one in a separate building that adjoined, you could go from one to the other, was Clark Leeming Designs for Business. And that was anything commercial. And that first year in that new building, we did $2 million, which was absolutely unheard of. Why and how? Because we had contemporary furniture like nobody else had, architecturally designed and just kind of coming across America in a rage. I'd go to San Francisco from time to time on a buying trip, furniture buying trip, And I got to Ghirardelli Square. And it excited me. I thought it was really a neat idea. I decided I wanted to do that in Salt Lake on a small scale. My mother was selling a home at the time, and there was a fellow by the name of Mr. Smith who was with First Security Realty. I said to Mr. Smith, if you ever find a really neat old building in downtown Salt Lake City, I'm interested in buying it. I happened to see this building, which was the Aero Press downtown. And they had moved out, and the lady had moved to California. And I said, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Just right on the mark. And find out about that for me. And he said, you know, I think you can buy that building. I said, let's line it up and get it done. It was the original and only printing press in Salt Lake City. It went way back. So here's the chain of title. It was a Spanish land grant to Brigham Young, and Brigham Young to this company called Aero Press, and then to me. So anyway, we bought that building and then decided to buy other buildings in the area and expand them into restaurants and commercial spaces. We had eaten at Benihana, and we thought Benihana would be a good presentation for Salt Lake City because we did not have that kind of cooking any place in Salt Lake City. Teppanyaki, that's what it is, teppanyaki cooking. This fellow had come over from Japan, and he was in New York City, and he came over to wrestle Rocky Aoki. And so I went to New York City to get a lease signed by him to come to this building and do a teppanyaki restaurant. I just told him I thought that his type cooking would be very good in the development of AeroPress Square. And there are still many Benihanas in the United States, but this Benihana has been there for a long, long time. And now we are going to build the hotel and the condominiums. So in block 69, which is West Temple, First South Main Street, Second South, we built the Clark Leeming Office Center. It's built by Christiansen Brothers Construction Company, and my son Scott worked for them and stomped in mud for a while and made the garage out of concrete. So we built towers, and the towers cost a little over $70 million. Now, where did we get the money, the $70 million, to build those two towers? Well, American Savings and Loan, which was still existing, got a consortium of savings and loans around the country to go together and loan us $70 million to build those buildings. We built them quickly. They were successful. We sold them out. I ended up buying one. My son-in-law bought one of the original ones, and we rented those. But it was built and it was leased out. We promised the redevelopment agency, which was Block 58, and there was a site for the hotel, that we would do the hotel. And that was like promising something that was probably impossible to do at the time, because there's no money. Somebody said to me, have you ever thought of trying Société Générale? I said, no, there's a Paris, France, 6th largest bank in the world. And so I call them in Paris. And they said, well, you need to call our representative in New York City, Betsy Barone, because Betsy is the one that has to start anything like that hotel, like a hotel. So I called Betsy and said, hello, Betsy, would you finance a hotel for us? And she said, we finance hotels. And I said, we want to finance a hotel in Salt Lake City. She said, how much? I said, over 40 million, probably 43 million. And she said, well, that's doable. But she said, I have to come to Salt Lake City and see what you're talking about, because I don't even know Salt Lake City. Anyway, she finally called and she said, I am coming to Salt Lake City to see the property and to see your deal. We have to kick the dirt and know where it is. So by golly, Betsy came and we picked her up at the airport and we did a Chamber of Commerce run of Salt Lake City. And so anyway, I said, well, now what's next step? She said, $45 million. Hey, that takes a senior vice president in charge of commercial property loans to come and see the site. I cannot approve it myself. He's in Paris, and I will get him to come from Paris to Salt Lake City. And I said, that would be fine. About the fourth week, she calls me and says, he's coming. He's coming right to Salt Lake City to see that property and see if we can make that loan. And I said, we will meet him at the airport. Give us the flight and the time, and we'll be there. Well, he came in the morning, and we said, we have a joint venture with Sheraton. And when we were given the opportunity to build or develop Block 58, we promised the redevelopment agency we'd build a hotel, and now we find out that there are no hotel lenders in the United States, none. And all we need is $45 million. We gave him the dog and pony show, and then he said, slow down, you guys. And we said, well, he said, I'm a skier of the French Alps, and I ski the Swiss Alps, and I ski the German Alps. And he said, and I'm a really good skier, but I hear about this thing called Alta. We said, Alta, yeah. I hear about that, and I hear about this thing called Park City and some of these ski resorts. And he said, of course, I've never seen them, but I'd like to. So can we go see the ski resorts? And we said, we've got dinner at La Caille at 7 o'clock, and if you have to go up 3 different mountain roads to do that, they don't connect, and I don't know how we could do it. And he said, well, that's more important to me than going to dinner. I said, well, we got an idea. We'll do both. I called the airport, and they said, we have a bird here ready to go, and we can have it on top of American Towers in 15, 20 minutes. We got a pilot and everything. Great, send him over. So he came over, and this was the way he could see the Brighton area that he knew about, and the Snowbird area, and all of those. We did get out to our reservation. Well, we got up, went to breakfast. He was there on time. We were there on time. He had his legal pad, and he had about 3 sheets of those, little 1/4-inch areas full of questions. And so we had answered them the best we could. We were on pins and needles. On Friday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, I don't know what time he sent at Paris time, came here. And 2 words, loan approved. We built that building in 365 days. There was somebody checking in at the desk 365 days. He said, they didn't come one time on a building inspection. They got pictures. We sent them from time to time of the construction. Well, they couldn't believe it. They said this building in Egypt now into over 5 years, and you're near complete. How do you do it? 24 hours a day. We're working up to the full year, and it's done. It was good for Clark Leeming because we did the furnishings. But it wasn't very successful. Not what it should be, not what it became. But we decided with Sheraton we should sell it. Then they gave me a call a little later, and they said, well, we need to buy you out because of the situation. How much do you want? And I was just sitting here at my desk. I didn't have a clue. I said, so I just thought for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then I said, well, we'll sell our $500,000. They said, that'll be fine. And they bought our $500,000. One day, a gentleman, Kay Ruggles, who we found out to be a genius, came into Clark Leeming. And he said, I want to work with you guys on a project. And we said, what? And he said, oh, I am a master at fiberglass. Fiberglass was pretty new then. Well, when we saw the things he was doing, which were wonderful, and this all made out of fiberglass, we did form a joint venture, and we called it Associated Design Group. He got the idea we should do bathrooms because bathrooms were becoming important. And this is his genius. Kay said, I'm going to design some bathrooms that are kind of one piece or whatever. Well, it was revolutionary, and nobody had seen it in the bathroom business to this extent. They'd seen a plastic tub and that, but they'd never seen anything like this. Then American Standard came, and they said, oh, wow, we need some of this because we just don't have any good design in our business. We're going to form a joint venture. Wow, that's really interesting. We're going to form a partnership, and you guys are going to design this revolutionary bathroom. And so we started designing bathroom products. Well, I was made the sales manager for American Standard of the new bathroom concept. The Playboy Hotel in London, they were building a large major hotel at the time, Playboy was. They knew we were doing custom bathrooms. They had seen them. They were excited about them. And they called me on the phone and they said, you make bathtubs? Yes. You make bathtubs for American Standard? Yes. Well, we're just finishing the Playboy Hotel in London. And we got an idea we think would make our hotel better and particularly our rooms better. Could you build a tub that was heart-shaped, big enough for 2 people? And could you make it in bright red? I said, easy, no problem. We could do that for you. They said, well, we need it in just a couple weeks. I said, that's all, I think there were 450 bathtubs, 450 rooms, something like that. So anyway, we started producing these bathtubs as quick as we could, and we'd take them out the airport, put them on air freight, collect, ship them to them, and of course they'd pay the airfare bill, and they'd pay us. And I don't know where they got the money, but man, those bathtubs cost them a lot of money by the time they paid us and paid. And we knew we had a sugar daddy, for sure. The tub was heart-shaped, and so he was here and she was here. Now, I don't know where they went from there. I never figured that out, but she was in this part of the heart and he was in this part of the heart. Walt Disney decided to do a Disneyland in Florida. There were different hotels, but we worked on the Contemporary Hotel. We're going to do something revolutionary. We're going to build the bathrooms, which you're going to design in a factory. And when we put them in the rooms of the Disneyland Hotel, all the plumbers will have to do is hook up the hot and cold, because everything else is plumbed in the factory. The Disney department we worked with is a department they call Imagineering, which was their think tank of all the neat things that we're doing. Well, we were supposed to meet with them on a Friday, and so we're starting on Monday, and I say to Kay, you gotta get this whole plan done and a model. And we gotta get on the airplane and be there and make this meeting. He drew it up, but made a model of it. The model was, it was just fabulous. I mean, it was just beyond. So we take it down to Disney, and the Imagineering guy said, fabulous. Who came up with this? Well, it's Kay Ruckles right here. And they said, it's just perfect. So let's just proceed with that. So we installed them, and the neat thing about it was the plumber came and he put, because it was made in the factory, he attached the cold water, he attached the hot water, and the drain went to, of course, below the toilet. Oh, they were gorgeous, and everybody loved them. We're getting ready for the grand opening.
Gotcha.
And so we go in, we check the water in the tub and in the basin and all, and we flush the toilet. And the toilet flows over with water. We go to the next room. We flush the toilet. It flows over. We go to the next, one more room. We flush the toilet. It goes over. We go back to the first room. We take the toilet, remove the toilet, and about 3 inches down in the waste pipe is a Turkish towel. Somebody has sabotaged us by putting that Turkish towel in. Everybody was so upset. So ultimately what we had to do is go and get the Turkish towels out of every one of those. We wanted to know who it is sabotaged us. Well, it finally led to the plumbers union because the plumbers were mad. They were really mad because instead of placing the tub in the toilet and hooking it all up and all their labor, all they had to do is just hook on the hot and the cold. And all the rest was done in the factory. They didn't like it at all. They were mad. Well, that ended that concept, unfortunately. We had an opportunity to go to Las Vegas and do an office for a fellow we knew very well, Richard Muir, Dick Muir. He was the manager, and he had invited us to come and do all the interior design. Well, in doing that, we learned a lot of good ideas to better a brokerage office. So we said, what do we do with it? And I said, I know, we're going to present this to somebody, a major national brokerage office. Well, who's that going to be? I said, I don't know, let's check it out. Well, all but one, we found out, basically were in New York. So I said, well, plane ticket to New York, sure a heck of a lot more than a plane ticket to San Francisco. I looked up who the CEO was of Dean Witter Reynolds. And I called this gentleman. I didn't know anything about it. I never talked to him about it. He didn't know me from Adam. I called him up and I said, we've been studying brokerage offices, and I'll tell you, we've developed a much better brokerage office, and you're going to want to see it because it will be very important to your business. But he said, I'll tell you what, if you want to spend the money to come all the way to San Francisco, I will give you 15 minutes. I said, I'll be there. What day do you want to do it? I got on a plane. I had these plans. I had everything. And I'd never met the man before. His name was Bill Miller. And I went to 301 Montgomery in San Francisco, and I went to his office and said, Bill, I'm Howard. And he said, glad you came, but you only have 15 minutes to show me. Well, after 10 minutes, he said, Howard, slow down. You've got another 30 minutes at least. I like what you're showing me. We're going to take all this wire that's all around here, and we're going to put it when we pour the floor, the cement floor. When we pour the cement floor, underneath that floor, we're going to put 3-inch diameter plastic tubes. And we're going to have them 12 foot on centers. So if you want to bring up a line here for a computer, you just drill down, pull it through that, sneak it through that conduit, and all of a sudden you've got another one to the desk. And it's not going all around in the ceiling. And I said, you can't rent a property and do that because they don't prepare for you. And he said, slow down again, and we went through that and other reasons. And he said, Howard, how soon can you be in Bellevue, Washington? And I said, Bill, first plane in the morning from San Francisco to Bellevue is how fast I can get there. And I think it's going to be pretty early in the morning. He said, go for it. See if you can find a piece of property. And I went up there and I found a fabulous site, vacant property. In 120 days, the property's purchased, the building is built, the furniture is all in place, and they walk in and set up shop. 120. They couldn't believe it. They just couldn't believe it. And so they say, okay, how soon now? Palo Alto, University Avenue, Palo Alto. Same thing. I went to Sun Valley every year because the Utah Bankers Association had their convention in Sun Valley. And I was a director at the Davis County Bank. That's before we bought it. And so I obviously was part of going to Sun Valley with Davis County Bank. And we just took our family with us because it was a great outing and they loved it. And then we started going on other vacations. It's important that the vacation is not something you'll forget. It's important that the vacation is something that'll enhance memories, enhance brain, enhance experiences, and valuable. Keep the family together, whoever they are, and every new member. And your family is the most important thing, in my opinion, that you have. Absolutely the most important thing. So if you don't have togetherness in your family, you're really lacking in the most important thing for you to have. Our family means more to us than any single thing. And that's Betty and myself both. And that's from the oldest in our family, would be Lissa, to the youngest, who would be less than a year old when we go this year.